Okay, so we're just going to sit down with our clients, have a little chat. They are opting to stay off camera, so which is perfectly fine. We're just going to touch base, see what things I touched on in the walkthrough that made sense, and then also see what their experiences are so we can then walk through with the meters and determine if there are scientific reasons or if there are spiritual reasons for those areas feeling weird. So like I was telling you just a moment ago, being assertive in your space, being the person in control and keeping up with whatever maintenance proves to be necessary will be important to this whole, day and everything. But I'd like to remove some of the fear for you and let you know that you really are in charge. You really do have the reins. We're in here to provide a little clarity and obviously reinstall a lot of the light, put the balance back in your favor. Mm-hmm. So then it'll be so much easier for you to just, simply maintain the inner workings. But based on the walkthrough, is there anything that you wanted to validate, verify, anything that I hit on that resonated to you guys that I felt through the space? And then obviously kind of some of the basic experiences you've been having as well. Whatever light you may shed would be appreciated.
Okay, I'm going to start with the first encounter that I had.
Okay.
Okay, and so I'm in bed, mm-hmm. and that was the first one, the blonde lady. Okay, So this blonde lady, and my door's closed, and I usually, prior to all of this, I didn't usually close my door at night. Mm-hmm. And this blonde lady with really bright red lips came in, and where my armoire is, mm-hmm. and so she was standing in the corner of the end of the armoire, against the wall, and she's faced to the wall in that corner. Oh. And she, I broke out in a sweat.
Well, yeah.
Because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I
definitely have suggestions of what to do if that ever happens again, though.
Yeah. But I didn't know. Should I turn on a light? Because I take a flashlight tonight every night to go to bed. Mm. And so so that happened. She was there for a few minutes, and then I decided that I was going to turn on the flashlight. Mm-hmm. And so when I turned on the flashlight, then she had like an Indian blanket around her. Oh. And I asked her.
So that native energy I was feeling, okay.
Yeah, and I asked her if she was lost or whatever.
Okay, that's good.
And but that's all I said to her.
And she didn't say anything back, or
you said she turned and smiled at you though.
Yes, when she left.
So she did acknowledge you to some degree.
Yes.
But it didn't feel like a negative encounter. It was just extremely startling.
Yeah, it was scary.
It would be startling. Yeah, I wouldn't appreciate some random gal in a blanket standing in the corner of the room. I mean, I see the dead all the time, and I know that's not okay to do when you're sleeping. But they have no concept of time on the other side, so she had no idea that it was your bedtime, probably. Maybe she felt some sort of camaraderie, or maybe she felt you needed a visit, or maybe she just was wandering through and accidentally you saw her. She didn't even intend to be seen. You just happened to. That was one of my first paranormal encounters ever in my life. Was one of my relatives. They did not intend for me to be awake or for me to see them. They were coming to tuck me in and check on me, and I woke up and saw them, type of thing. And it's like, I was actually hadn't fallen asleep yet. I was getting ready. I was getting all comfortable and doing the whole thing. And all of a sudden, this energy manifests in the hallway. And I was like, oh, that's not okay. And I screamed bloody murder because, that's not normal. But it turns out, it was just a relative. It was a great grandfather of mine that actually died before I was born, but he'd kind of taken on the role of just want to check up and make sure things were okay.
Everything okay?
Yeah, he didn't anticipate me seeing him and then screaming like, the world had come to an end. So sometimes they inadvertently startle us, and they probably don't mean to. And the fact that she smiled upon leaving, it was probably just like, okay, well, I'm going to go now, and have a nice day.
Yeah.
So, and have you ever seen her since?
No.
Okay.
There was only time.
And all of her encounters that she's had, because she's had quite a few, they've never been the same one. So it's every single one she's had 10 now, and every one has been a different one.
Which would really be indicative of an unbloomed or bloomed medium that doesn't have boundaries. You shouldn't be able to see those things unless you have spiritual ability. Or if it's a revolving door like 7-Eleven in your house.
Well, that's what I thought. I was like, is there a portal that can help?
That's what I was,
I mean,
people are coming through,
but usually the person who's seeing them or sensing them, they have to have some natural inclination to be able to sense it. You have to have there are plenty of people that they live in pretty haunted places, but they never have an experience because they're completely walled off to it. You're clearly not walled off to it. You have a receptibility to this. So we need to work on boundaries for them and for you to feel safe. So what else have you had happen in your space?
Okay, and so then,
that's the linen closet.
yes, okay. So, and I don't know if I don't think I was locking my door and closing it.
No, it was open.
Yeah. So there was this creepy guy, and if you so where my door is, the linen closet's right there, and so he was standing there on the side of the linen closet.
Like he had his back to the linen closet, and then he's peeking in into her room.
Okay,
so
that weird little feeling I was feeling up there kind of makes sense then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to have validation, but
Yeah.
I wonder what
that one creeped me out, to know, and she told me that, and then I go home, and then I wake up in the middle of the night because I have a newborn, and so I wake up to feed him, and I'm picturing someone looking around, because I can just visualize it so crystal clear, and I'm just okay, I don't like that one. Of all the stories, that was the one that I was like.
I mean, that's not. So, what did he look like physically? Was he disheveled? Was he, how? Besides the fact that he was just a dude, how else was he being creepy?
Just that he was tall and he was standing there, but and he just kept
peering over,
and I mean he wasn't disheveled or it didn't look like
just some sort of dude. Now, what kind of did you notice his clothing or what era he might have been from? Did he look modern at all, like today's wears? Or did he look like maybe he could have been from...
To tell you the truth, I mean, that was only the third one. So.
Okay.
That was the second one.
Second one, yeah.
When you first had told me about it, I don't think that he turned his body in.
Okay.
I visualized that he's standing at the doorway and literally just his head is just peeking in. Is what I thought when she was...
So, granted, that's definitely disconcerting and not comfortable of an experience whatsoever. But the fact that he was looking in, but he didn't actually come in... Maybe he was looking for an invitation or permission or looking for help, and it could have been more of a curiosity, who's in there? Can you help me? It might not have been, something malicious or menacing. It was more of is there anyone that can be helpful?
Yeah. And,
in those instances, you clearly, any of these souls that come through to you, you have to tell them. If you're not wanting to engage with them or help them, you have to say, well, nice of you to visit, but it's quitting time for you guys to go. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. You have to just tell them to back off and to leave. Video light went out, dear.
See that?
Yeah. Are they draining our energy? That's all we need. That's all I need. So now that we have our other alternate video light going because something drained a fully charged video light out, nosy dead people. But as we were just saying, they all seem to have a little bit of either curiosity or desire for help, or they're attracted to your energy for some reason. You either make them feel safe or you can help, or we've got to shift that balance to where you understand that if you don't want to deal with them, you simply don't have to, and maybe establish some sort of kind of routine, every other week or once a month type of just, you smudge the house and just keep it calmer, because I think that they're drawn here, but they're not understanding that this is not what you're here for. You don't want to be the one that, helps them cross over or does, or do whatever.
I have no idea about any of that.
Exactly. It's not your thing. And, just because you're maybe a little more empathic or a little more sensitive, it doesn't mean that they have the right to bombard you.
Yeah, and we did a lot. We did the smudging and...
Yeah, but the whole time that I was going through, because I smudged the house, because I've had an encounter once too, and it was very negative, and I smudged my house like right away, and I never had a problem after that.
You took control.
Right in. But I'm very much more assertive than she is. And so when this all happened, I'm like, well, I'll help you. And so, we smudged her whole house and going through, and as I was going through, I'm saying, like, you're not welcome here, thank you for being here, but, and so I have like a little thing that I'm saying, and I'm like, but really, you should be saying it, because it's your house, and it really shouldn't be coming from me, everything, but let me...
Or at least do it together.
Right. Yeah. But when when I felt like when she was saying it, I felt like it was almost like words that she's just saying, and she wasn't really being, like, assertive enough, or like... Well,
intent matters. When you do a blessing, and you'll see when I bless the space, intent matters. Your intent is to have your home light, loving, safe, how you want it. Make it your own. And if your intent is for them to just move along in peace and move out of the space, you need to really, really feel it and really mean it. And it doesn't even have to be a big giant, ordeal. Just simple, just super simple. But it's all about making sure that they know who's boss, who owns the house, not them. It's yours. So, what other encounters have we had?
Okay, so there was a guy that came out of my mirror in my room, and then he said, "Oh shit," when he saw me.
So she was in bed, and like the mirror is like at the foot of her bed.
I'd almost.
And your response would be?
I would have I'd be like, well, let's put holy water on that mirror. I will be blessing your mirrors, by the way. That is one thing that when I bless a house, I don't just do the windows and doorways, but I also do mirrors, because they can be openings, by the way. I didn't look at it in depth, but when I go back up there and look, anytime you have mirrors reflecting in mirrors, that definitely is a no-no. So I don't know if that is true in that space or not. If it's not, that's great. But
it's at the foot of her bed, and then there's windows on the thing.
That shouldn't be, that shouldn't cause a problem. Some way, like, you get the infinity effect, that can make it more profound. But mirrors in and of itself, they're not necessarily always openings or portals, but they can be. So I will be blessing your mirror. For sure.
Okay, this one?
Your cowboy.
Oh, the cowboy. Okay, so then I was getting freaked out, and so I would close my door and I lock it. Like it would make any difference, but no.
Well, but but mentally and emotionally, it gives you that feeling.
But you would hear it click, and so that was the other piece of it.
Oh, so when I was hearing doorknobs moving internally, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then, that was the first one that walked in, and
he walked through the door.
He walked.
He walked through the door.
That's not a good boundaries at all.
No. And
And so did he just walk through the room and acknowledge you, or did he just like walk straight through?
So he walked through the door, and he was standing at the door, and she said he was like in full chaps and everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
And is that the one that was really short?
The cowboy?
Yeah. Was it the cowboy that was really short?
I don't know.
I did feel a smaller energy, but
yeah, because there was somebody that came in also in my room after I locked it, and it was like like just up half the door. This is how tall he was.
Yeah, I think you said he was a short boy.
He was really short.
But then she asked him to leave, and he wouldn't leave.
Sometimes you don't ask them. Sometimes you tell them.
Yeah.
Like,
and I didn't have,
you didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
What we want to do is make sure you do have those tools. Because I don't think the encounters are going to 100% stop, but I want to turn that volume knob way down to maybe it's like once a year. You might get a little passerby like, oh, okay, gonna leave now, instead of always happening,
Yeah. Okay. And then her coins dropping.
So her door was closed and she was in her bed and she heard what sounded like coins.
Coins
It's a definite auditory phenomenon. Okay.
Okay, and then I can see shadows
Mm-hmm.
under the door. So, because when I turned on the flashlight for the lady,
Mm-hmm.
she left. So I thought, oh,
Yeah.
okay, so they don't like the light. And so at the top of my stairs, I leave the light on, thinking that they won't be there, but they are.
Yeah, and it causes all that shadow play.
Yeah.
That I was seeing a lot of.
Yeah.
They're busy.
Yeah. Okay. And okay, so this is the showers. Okay, shadows. And then I saw animals and a guy by the bedroom door.
Okay, so
I
that.
can't remember.
So I thought I saw like an animal type of energy, so that would make. It's not. Some of it could be land-based residual too. They don't even know you're here or the house is here.
Yeah.
That like they have no concept of any of this. They're just meandering through with, cowboy going through, somebody with their dog going through, they have no idea that you exist.
How do they know? I mean, they just are out there just blowing in the...
Well, it kind of depends on the spirit. I mean, there's a lot of variables, and we don't have all the answers. We don't know all of the things. Residual energy is more like a record player. It's just a loop, a repeat. It's not actually an active soul with intelligence that can interact with you, that can talk to you. It's like watching a movie just play on mute, and it just replays and replays and replays. And occasionally, if you happen to be up or you're around in the right place, right time, right everything, you'll see that replay happen. And it's not really it's not actually a soul. It's just a memory. It's just a pure memory. Just like we were saying, up there, a living person's energy was stuck on the space. You can see the replay of a living person's energy work through the space. Again, why, blessing or smudging a home can be useful to peel back some of those layers of residual memory and make it sort of just dissipate. Active spirits that are interacting with you, they have a lot of different things. Some of them are transitioned. Some have gone through the transition, the healing and all of that kind of stuff. And they're either looking for a few more answers, or they're looking to help somebody else, or they're just kind of, going about their business. Maybe they chose to just inhabit this area because they're familiar with it. They're comfortable with it. Some of the souls could be ancestral souls that are connected to you, but you don't know it. They could be 3, 4, 5, 6 generations back. And they're just drawn to your energy because oh, she's in my little soul web. I know that energy. And they just come here because they feel safe. They feel comfortable. And you're not going to recognize who they are because it could be great, 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 whoever. But they know you because they feel the energy tied. They don't know by face or anything like that. Right. So it could be a myriad of different things happening in this space. Some of these people could just be passers through that are lost, souls that just need a little love and a little help, saying, hey, here's the light. Here you go. Come on. Let's get out. And we just got to lock the space down a little bit. I think that you have too much busyness happening.
Yeah.
Way too much busyness happening.
Yeah. Okay, so I have only 2 things left.
Perfect.
No, 3, but
3. Which one's the 3rd?
You don't have it listed yet. Just keep going.
Okay. Okay, so I have, this is the oddest thing. Okay, on my window, the left side of it, at the windowsill, on the wall, there's like a caterpillar and it's there every night. And the first time I saw it, there was a butterfly on top of it here, and the caterpillar was here, and it's about like this long. And I tried to take a picture of it, and I couldn't get it. And it's not there in the morning. It's there when I go to bed at night, but it's not there in the morning. And it's
a phantom caterpillar.
Isn't that the weirdest thing?
When she told me that, I'm like, okay, you might be losing your mind. And then once she got to that one, I'm like,
and I'm trying to find something logical about it. I'm trying to place what logically could explain some sort of odd phenomena like that. And, spirit animals are a thing, you know, or representing transitions or transformations, butterflies, caterpillars. It could just be more of a metaphorical manifestation saying, we're trying to help you bloom and spread your wings and be the biggest, brightest you possible. I mean, it could just be one of your spirit guides trying to provide you a little bit of guidance in a sort of an odd little symbolic form.
Yes. I mean, the first time I saw it, I thought, I don't want it on my wall. And I'm thinking, how am I going to get that off? You know, and I'm thinking, well, in the morning I can, but it was gone.
Huh.
So, anyway.
Very interesting.
Okay. And then this was really odd, and it was right after the caterpillar piece. I could hear somebody walking in my kitchen with boots on.
Okay, so the footsteps that I was sensing, that's very relevant. Okay.
And that's the only time I've ever heard it.
Okay. It's strange, I gotta say, but that almost sounds like that could just be a residual too. It could just be, you know, somebody from the past, just they were walking through and then that was it, and you just happened to hear it at the right place, right time type of thing. But that would be a little unnerving, to say the least.
So the last one was 3 nights ago when you heard them all whispering to each other. You couldn't make out what they were saying. But they were like all chitter chatter. It was kind of like
they're probably saying, "Oh, you're bringing that paranormal to me."
That's exactly what I told them.
Yeah.
They're having a meeting about it. Well,
that's what she said. It sounded like they were just like all.
What are we gonna do now?
Yeah.
Well, you have to find a different house.
Because I had my list, and I said, "Do you think they're reading this?"
That's not what I said.
They're all changing it.
They're trying to correct your note.
And she said that hers.
That's not what happened.
And she said now 2 nights, that night that she heard it, and then night before last, that she had her smoke detector in her room. It's like bright orange, like bright.
You know, over the
Yeah.
It was like on fire red. I mean, not red, orange.
Yeah.
And it was 2 nights in a row, and it was really scary because I thought, what in the hell?
That's unusual.
I mean, it was bright orange.
The whole thing. I said, just the light, you know how the light, I think. She's like, no, the entire circle of the smoke detector.
So maybe an energy was hovering in front of it, causing it to take on that hue, or, you know, obviously orb energy can look all sorts of different colors and take on different shapes, and that, you've got some weird experiences. I'm gonna say, you know, it's definitely not normal, but it's normal for a house that doesn't have any boundaries, and, you know, your sensitivity that, you know, you're not all really in touch with, you don't even know what to do with it, but it's there, and there's this revolving door. Now, you said you had some experiences here when you were here years ago, so the predominance of the activity, when has it been the heaviest activity-wise in the last, you know, how you've been here 25 years, so when is the spike? When has the spike occurred, or has it been consistent through the entire time?
No, so like when years ago when I lived here, it was just like I could just feel kind of like energy and sometimes would make me feel uncomfortable, and then other times I could just feel like presence, but that was it. But I never encountered like what she was encountering, but what she's been encountering is probably since like late summer, last summer, and then through now. So all of those she's experienced since then.
So that seems a little unusual for a large amount of activity to suddenly crop up within, you know, less than a year. Like that, there has to be a trigger. There has to be a reason for suddenly everything to pop open. Any health scares or health issues in the family can do it. If you've gone through a medical thing, any hormonal changes in anybody, hormonal shifts can cause this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it can, things like puberty and menopause can both do it, or other hormonal shifts ebbs and flows can change the energy in the home. A sudden loss, a tragedy. Have you had anybody in the house that ever practiced any alternative faith or belief or other practices? I mean, anybody stay here, visit here, that would have, around the time that it started?
Like only me, but like that, I lived here years ago, so.
I was going to say, they're usually, for a profound activity, things like portals or sudden, upticks in activity, it's not typical. I mean, it's not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you have any new neighbors in the last year? Any
Oh
new?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This on this side and this side.
She's new?
Yeah,
Oh,
this
okay.
last year. Yeah,
Oh.
and here, and
Okay.
and both those houses across the street.
Okay. Because anything that they might be into or they're doing or something going on in their life, and because you're already naturally a latent sensitive that is not really in touch with it,
Mm-hmm.
if they have anything going on, it could have popped it open here. I mean, if they're practicing other, alternative practices or doing something that maybe they're not doing it safely, teenagers being crazy, whatever,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff, they could possibly have woken up energy in this whole neighborhood. And then suddenly, basically you kind of have to look back at when the activity started and who was the newest arrival, on scene around here, because that could definitely account for sudden onset of activity like that. If you're not, doing any, different types of whatever in your own house and that kind of thing, and you haven't had any major life-altering things happen in the last year with your physical body or anybody really close to you, then you may be getting bleed over energy from other places potentially.
The birth of a grandbaby.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that is a big change. I mean, that does change energy, but usually for the better. I mean, obviously.
It's too fun.
So that's usually a positive, and that usually will shift it more in your favor. I'm almost thinking that maybe after we smudge it, gridding the property would be good. Basically, that's planting rocks in the back corners and the front corners of your property. I have the right crystals for the job. And that's after you smudge, after you've cleared all the energy type of thing. So, I'll do all that. I'll do all the clearing of the house, the blessing, all that thing, that we have to do. But then the final kind of icing on the cake is the gridding, because it almost puts like this energetic, kind of like a force field, over and through the space that makes it less common to have intense activity. Again, it doesn't make it impossible, depending on if it's a nice energy or just a residual, they're just working through, they don't even know you're here, that type of thing. But it will dampen things, especially if anybody who lives nearby is suddenly into some sort of, alternate practice or occult practice or something like that. You have no idea. They probably all look like really nice, sweet, awesome neighbors.
Yeah,
but you have no idea. Yeah, they could be doing anything in their house. And you've had this little general latent sensitivity and ability, both of you, for the course of time that you just really never tapped into and never really been engaged with. And then what if, a neighbor 1 or 2 doors down is suddenly doing, full moon, whatever, and let's do this, let's do that, God knows what could happen, for somebody like you that you lived here this whole time, you didn't know you needed spiritual boundaries. And so a million different things. It could have just been your own feeling creeped out. It could have actually been some sort of something you sense nearby. It could have been that Native American energy that I feel in the space, and you didn't know how to identify or name it, so it felt weird to you. But what's happening now seems a lot more intense than that. That seems like a background kind of half haunt. This seems like you've literally got 7-Eleven going on. Like you're open and everyone's coming in for a Slurpee. And that's not really what you want.
No, it's not.
No. So obviously the stairs, the kitchen, and your bedroom seem to be places where, like up on the landings and like this whole area and your room and in the kitchen were the areas where the most activity has probably occurred. So maybe we'll focus our meters there, see if we get any readings, any sort of residual anything, why we could, be seeing all of this. But I think that maintenance might be part of the recipe. So I'll definitely leave you a couple of tools. And I think I did send you guys all the documents. So you can sort of put those into play, the refresher blessings, those kind of things, and do those periodically together. You can help her out, give her that strength, and that you've got, and then you can start feeling strong about it too. And I know that just because this is happening, it doesn't mean you're crazy. It doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. It just means that you have to now address it. It's a new thing. Let's address it and let's keep it down. Again, I don't know that it'll make you 100% paranormal free, especially if you can't control what people in other houses are doing. But we can control how you're reacting to the energy, and also the way that you can control it. If you see something gnarly, you know, have some sandalwood incense, light some sandalwood, dampens everything down. You know, you can put some protocol into play that puts the control back into your hands and makes you feel and know that you are in charge. Not these whirlwind dead people that keep wandering around all over the place. And a lot of them are residual. I do feel a lot of residual energy, like a thick amount of residual, which means, you know, ancestry of the land, stuff that has been in this neighborhood maybe before. I don't even know how old this neighborhood really is, but obviously the land's been here for, you know, forever.
It was they had sheep.
Oh.
And the people behind me, they owned all that land.
Ooh, okay. So that would shift the, you know, they had a family homestead years ago, which is all one big sheep ranch. So obviously that will leave memory onto the space, and some of those people could still be coming back to visit because they were familiar. And so,
heard about the cowboy too.
Yeah, he obviously could have been probably connected to that part of that family, you know, maybe. And then as time has changed and this landscape has changed and all these new houses are popping up, they don't articulate that. They're just here hanging out down at the ranch.
Yeah,
it's not the ranch no more. So we've got to work on their understanding. But most of all, make sure that you know that you're not in danger and you're not crazy.
Right.
But we want you to feel happy. That's the most important. So I think we'll break out a couple meters. And do you have anything else to add as far as just anything in the walkthrough that made sense to you or felt like, or any places I was feeling weird? Did that kind of sound like it corroborated with some of the areas that you had experiences?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
As soon as you got on the stairs and the landing, before when you were sitting there at first and you're looking up at the landing, I'm like, oh, she's already on it.
Yeah, well, you know, it's palpable. I can feel it, you know, and so but it is validating for you guys to know that, hey, it's a thing. It is, and we're gonna come in here and we're gonna do the thing. You know, we're gonna fix some stuff. We're gonna rebalance things so it'll be your space again. But I definitely feel like maintenance is gonna be key because there's an unknown factor of why it suddenly spiked, and I think that you're gonna have to keep up a little bit, hopefully not as intensely. I think that we can at least give you the right start.
Great.
You know,
I appreciate it.
Of course.
Very much.
No, it's what we love to do.